This is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
Congressman Dan Muser has made his mark in Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania as a member of the Financial Services and Small Business Committees, with offices to serve you in Tunkhannock, Bloomsbury, Hamburg, Dallas, Lebanon, Berwick, and Pottsville.
We didn't earn those chairs. Your talent didn't earn those chairs. How tall you are, how fast you run, how well you shoot, didn't earn those chairs. Me draw up a play, me recruit real hard, me work real hard, I didn't earn the chair. These guys, when they were your age, interrupted their life. They paused their education. They changed their career. And they gave their life for those chairs. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Not us. Not us. And so when the anthem is played, we're going to stand like grown men, and we're going to honor men like this that gave their life so we could have a chair to sit in. And in the 2.5 minutes that the song is played and somebody sings it or the music is played, we're going to stand at attention in honor of these men. And we're not going to sway back and forth. We're not messing with our short. We're not messing with our jersey. Those 2.5 minutes we're going to give to the people that earn these chairs. Because that freedom allows us to do what we're doing. I don't care if you sing, but I want you to know the words. And I want you to be respectful of the words. Because those words represent people's lives. And when we stand, we're going to put our right hand over our heart and our left hand behind our back. And we're not moving. And we're not looking down, and we're not swaying. We're standing still with perfect body language. And all that we're thinking about is these men who earned the right for these chairs to be here.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red
Congressman Dan Muser has made his mark in Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania as a member of the Financial Services and Small Business Committees, with offices to serve you in Tunkhannock, Bloomsbury, Hamburg, Dallas, Lebanon, Berwick, and Pottsville.
Road Scholar Transport, a higher standard.
Well, that was good stuff, wasn't it? I enjoyed that, a little patriotism before the show starts. But now we're joined by a couple of guys that I work right next door to. And they are the father-son duo for Froggy 101, our great country station here in Northeast Pennsylvania. And I've watched them work together flawlessly. They get along better than any father and son should or have a right to. But they're joining me today. And they're the first, and as far as we know, only father-son disc jockey team in the country. And it's a top 3 station all the time. Everybody loves Froggy. And they're with us today. Doc Medek, welcome.
You, Bob. Thank you.
Chewy Medek, welcome.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
All right. So, Doc, you obviously have the longer career in radio.
Yeah, I'm the seasoned vet.
I ran across you first with KRZ.
Right. Long time ago. So I came here 1988. I got the job at KRZ. And then I hung in there till 96, and we had huge success back then. Because of that, got an offer to move to Long Island, did that for a couple of years. Then I was offered to come back. I was offered to come back because also they were making changes on Long Island. So I came back for a second time, did it for a while. Then I got an offer to go to Philadelphia, do mornings. Did that for 6 years. They were making changes. So for a third time, they offered me to come back. And I know they're not going to do that much more, Bob. So I'm back. I'm here to stay. I don't want to push the envelope anymore.
By the way, speaking of Philadelphia, for another one of Odyssey stations, you do like a Sunday show or something.
Right. So I do, it's what they call classic hits. So it's 70s, 80s, 90s. And I do Saturday night, 7 to midnight on Big 98.1 and Sunday afternoons from 3 to 7. Love it.
Was that a big jump to go from, top 40 to whatever you did on Long Island, back to, and then did you come right back to Froggy, the country station?
Yeah, so what happened was when I went to Long Island was more of a dance station than KRZ was.
Denny Terrio, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, that's where he always had the thing going with the hands. Did that, and then, the option came back to KRZ. And so I did. And that's when Rocky and Sue went to Florida for a job. So they said, all right, well, you're going to have you do mornings with the guy that used to work with me, Psycho Mike. And then one of the ladies, well, these were all...
Psycho Mike didn't quite have the staying power you had.
Yeah. No, he did good. He's still working. He's under a different name, but he's still working in the market here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we did it for a year. And then the GM comes up to me and he goes, we're going to make changes at Froggy and we want you to go there. I was not a country music guy in the least. I knew nothing about country music, just a couple of songs. And he talked to me and he are you ready for this move? And I said, it's really not for me. Well, this process went on for like 6 months. 2 months later, did you give it any more thought? I said, yeah, it's not for me. Finally, the 6 months, we're making changes. Starting Monday, you're going to Froggy. And I was petrified because I didn't know what to expect, and it was choppy in the beginning. I remember telling my wife, Michelle, I said, I got to look to get out of here again because there's no way I'm going to do country. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to make a fool of myself. And she's like, just give it a chance. And I did. And then I started hearing a couple of songs I liked. I said, all right, that's not too bad. And
was this the start of Froggy?
No, Froggy started, I think it was like 1992, maybe?
I think 92, 93
I think that's when it
started, yeah.
Yeah, so I came in, it was like 99 when I came in to
And was it
mornings.
live DJs before you got there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was live DJs, but they'd already been through a couple of morning shows, hence they were making changes again. And I was, I guess the first fortunate one that didn't have a frog-type name. They liked the name Doc Medek, so they let me stick with that because everybody else had like novelty, frog names. And then we built the morning show from there. The guy who was program director at the time said, what do you want to do? I said, well, let's use a top 40 approach to country music. So I was using everybody that was in the building, basically, who was interested in being on the show, they were characters. They came in throughout the show. And that's how we built it up and actually became number one for a while there. Yeah.
And I remember, and still top.
Yeah, still doing well.
Top of the heap.
It's on the climb again, which is good now. Yeah.
I just remember from the Blues Brothers movie, we got both kinds, country and western.
Yes, yeah, we do both of them here. That's exactly what we do.
So you do this, and you have other people with you in the morning. Was it always a team?
Yeah, I always ran it as a team. And my whole thing was I let them, because I eventually became program director again. It's like, I'll do the setup guy, but you're funny at this, and your strength is this, and you're great when you do this. So let's tie it all in together. So I would always open the breaks and set them up, but I knew exactly who I was going to in the group, and then everybody reacted.
That's one thing that he's really good at doing is he doesn't have to be the punchline guy. And sometimes you don't find that in radio where somebody's willing to just throw it up and say, run.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that he's top tier at, is that he doesn't need to take a line.
So what you're saying is you're the funny guy on the show.
No,
He is. I mean, honestly.
Well, all right, so, and I want to switch over to Chewy. So Chewy, you're doing radio, you're around. You
8 years.
Yeah.
8 years. I started when I was, actually even earlier than that. I started when I was 14. I had my first on-air shift.
Well, you're growing up with this.
Yeah, I'm growing up with this guy.
How could you resist?
I know, and it's funny, the things I wanted to be in life: a lawyer, I wanted to be a criminal defense lawyer, a chef, a teacher, history teacher, or a radio DJ. Nothing else. Like I was like, I'm going to be one of these four things. And I knew from the time I was little to the time I became on air. 14, he buys WAZL AM in Hazleton, 1490. Wow. And
you guys are both at your Hazleton guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He tells me, hey, let's throw you on one night. Because I was like, I want to be on the radio. And I was like, I don't want to be on the radio. This is scary. And he's like, you're talking to, and here I am thinking I'm talking to the whole world. I was probably talking to like 5 people that were listening.
A music station, low power
in 2012. And then I did it for, until we had the station. He sold it. Then when I was 18, at Temple University, was doing a little bit too much partying. And I came back for the summer, and there was an on-air opportunity, or not even on-air. It was a board hopping opportunity and street team. And I was like, sure, I'll do that just to get my foot in the door, because you never know what it might need.
For who?
For Froggy, KRZ, Wilk, and anything that they needed somebody for. I was jumping in. Later on, as the summer went on, there was an opportunity for a creative assistant, so an assistant to the production director is basically what I was. I wasn't the assistant production director, I was the assistant guy. And I got that job, and then I came to a really hard choice. Do I stay in radio, or do I go back to school?
Yeah.
That I'm going to for radio. So I made the hard choice then, because I was 19 at that point then, and I said, I'm going to stick with radio. So
Dad, what did you think of this?
I personally, it's funny, I have so many friends that work in broadcasting, and they're like, oh, steer them away, it's a horrible business. I don't agree. I love it, and I'm doing it 40-something years now, and he knows, because every day I was going to say to him, I said, at some point in the morning show, either I'm thinking about it, or I'll say, I get to do what I love to do each and every day, and not a lot of people can say that in their job. So I was thrilled. I mean, I know when you start in radio, you're not going to make a lot of money, and he knows that, and he's doing okay now, but, I think he's just scratching the surface.
And it is, because like he said, then that went on to opening up a position at KRZ. I was doing weekends and swing shifts. From there, about a year later, I got an offer to go do part-time down in Philadelphia, where I was on 96.5 TDY in Philadelphia. I was doing Saturday nights, which is kind of a big time slot, but for a part-timer, especially in Philadelphia. I was 21 years old. I was like, oh my God. Then, funny enough, I went through a bad breakup, and I go, I'm leaving Northeast PA, and I went to State College. I got a job in State College, and where I was doing afternoons. My first full-time job was there all throughout the pandemic, majority of the pandemic. So now I'm 23 years old, right around there, 23, 24, and I get an offer to go be a program director out in DuBois, Pennsylvania. And there was a station, they were like, we don't know what's wrong with it. It's just, it can't move. It's down at the bottom. Try to do something to it. And we got it up to number 2, number 1 in the market, like right there, fighting with the number 1 spot. And it was a great high rating, it wasn't a rated market, but streaming numbers were off the charts. It gained 18% in revenue. It turned into a really good station, completely flipped it around to where the whole town knew what the radio station was. And I'm having the time of my life out there, trying to convince my girlfriend, yeah, come on, move out here. It's great, it's great, it's great. And I couldn't be bothered in the world. Then I get a call. Hey, so just so you know, my co-host is leaving. You want to come do a father-son show with me on Froggy? And I did Top 40 my entire life.
How long ago was this?
This was
10 months now.
10 months, 11 months now. About 11 months now, about to be a year. And I go, I haven't done country before. I've never done a show before with somebody. It's always been me solo on Top 40. And it took a little convincing from a lot of people, like, because I was program director is what I wanted to do. I was loving programming, but I wanted to be back in my hometown. I love it here. There's no place better on this planet than northeastern Pennsylvania, believe it or not, in my mind. So
I believe it. I'm here.
Yeah, it's true. And we talked about how are we going to do this? How's it going to look? Like, here I am, your son. Are people going to say that you got me this job? And then I'm like, you know what? No, my resume worked for itself because I did. I had to fight for the position. There were other people that they were looking at, and I had to fight for my position and prove my point. And I think I did a good job. And now, looking back and even looking at the ratings, we're doing really
well.
We're doing really good.
And it's funny. One of the things, like, a lot of times on morning shows, it's a guy, it's a girl, sometimes a third person. And that was always the norm. And so when I started talking to OD, who's my boss, I said, all right, let me run one by you. And I said, and he knew Chewy. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. But he goes, I got to sell this to Ryan, who's our GM, and then Ryan's got to sell it to corporate. Again, this hasn't been done anywhere. So it's like, is this going to work? And, my argument in it, or my side was, we kind of got chemistry. I used to change his diapers when he was a baby, so I know a lot about him.
One of the things Ryan said to me in my interview was, well, why do you think you'll work? I said, well, I've got 26 years of chemistry with the host, or 25 at the time. And like I said, we kind of gelled. Everything. He's open to doing everything. It's one of those things where, anything he says I'm open to, it's like, hey, you know what, let's do this. Hey, you want to, what if we got callers to say this stuff? Like, I've got an idea for a game for this. And it's just, we're so, I guess we just gel. I guess is the best way to do it.
And that you commute together.
We were up until a few weeks ago.
Because I saw you in the...
Yeah.
Well,
and I thought to myself, that's a great place to germinate a lot of...
Well, that is. And a lot of shows can't do that because somebody's home doing their thing, and we would. And believe it or not, you'd be fighting over dinner, but you'd also be having a beer and said, let's do this. And it's great. He calls me every morning when I'm coming in at 4 o'clock anyhow. So we do have that talk there. Plus, we're together for an hour prior.
Because I was living at home when I moved back because I was like, well, I don't have a place here. I said, do you mind if I come stay for a little bit? And I did for about 8 months. And then my girlfriend bought a house and we moved in together. So now I'm up in Mountaintop. So... But it's a whole other thing. Again,
a whole new storyline.
The storyline just keeps evolving, and it's great to see when we're out with listeners and we're, whether we're out on the street, we're at a concert or something, and the people are coming up to us and they're going, hey, and how's the house now? People bringing housewarming presents too, which is wild. We went to Miracle here the other day. We got a cake. We got cookies, a yard flag. We got a whole bunch of stuff, and it's like
people come up just bringing gifts.
And not hearing aids?
Yeah, no, not hearing aids. Thankfully, not yet. But
Doc, you might need one.
But we do. We've got the coolest listeners, and they're family to us. And our boss kind of said it the best the other day. When a caller calls into our show, it's like they're talking to their neighbor. It's like they're talking to their friend. Because that's what we try to be.
It's a very comfortable show.
Yeah,
and there have been husband wives. There have been boyfriend girlfriend. There's never been father son.
Yeah.
I just think the dynamic is so interesting, and as the word that I would use, comfortable. Now, morning show, you're both program directors. You both have that in you. When you put together the program 10 months ago, did it have any dramatic changes, Doc, from what it was with your previous co-host?
The structure of the hour basically stayed the same. However, then it came to, and to stroke him, which is amazing. He can do, and you probably hear him sometimes next door, he does a million different voice imitations. He can do current president, former president, some of the characters you've heard that people wonder, is it really a caller? And it's him that's doing the voice. So he's so talented in that. It's like, well, come on, let's take
there was
advantage
one guy.
Wally.
I forget what the Wally. I heard it.
You love when Wally calls.
I love Wally. Where's Wally? There he is. I said, where's he from? He's Wally.
I remember when you told me this in the hallway. You're like, I can't. That guy, is he drunk? And I was like, it's me on the phone, Bob. And you're like, what?
Well, let's hear a little Wally.
Yeah, Wally calls in. He's like, hey guys, what's going on? And he's kind of just named after a guy that he's based off of a guy that we know named Wally that drinks a lot, and that's what he sounds like too when he talks.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, he's all too real. To everybody from the area. So that's the beauty of it. They get it. Yeah. He's a composite of so many people.
He is northeastern Pennsylvania.
Listeners know.
We all know Wally.
And some pick up on it, but he does the voices so well. A lot of people don't realize he's Trump, he's Biden when he does all that stuff.
It does not sound...
No.
It does not sound like you. It just doesn't. That's great.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, so you look at doing a lot of shtick, because it's not just the music. The morning show, people don't want just music. Music is almost the filler.
Glad you're saying that, Bob. A lot of people don't think that higher up. But you're right. That is. That's, you can hear, and like, I'll give OD credit. He always says, you can give music anywhere. But what's between the records? Records, that's dating ourselves. But, what's between the songs?
Well, they're recorded. We can still use them.
Yeah, exactly. But what's between the songs makes the difference. And that's what we're getting to do, fun stuff. And, he's got a great energy. He's got a great laugh. People love him. And he's like a clown. But friendly. He's not insulting anybody. He's always makes anybody feel good calling, and we see it when we go out on appearances. How it's really.
Well, I've always viewed radio and TV to some extent. Who do you want to hang around with? Are you comfortable hanging around with these guys, this father and son team?
Yeah.
And it's become very clear in a very short period of time. These things don't, and there's no big promotion budget for the morning show or anything. I mean, you got to make it happen by word of mouth. And those who listen have to be happy with what they heard, so they tell the next person and the next and the next, and it goes out. And that has happened. So I just think you've established yourselves as a couple of people that people want to hang around. Let me hang around for 15 minutes or an hour or whatever it is.
Yeah, a lot of the family topics, things we talk about that fathers and sons go through,
They're
or
relatable.
even family fight. Anybody listening, it's a couple going, oh my God, in our house it's that way. And then we'll get the react. Then people who normally wouldn't call a radio station, because now, and it was like this for years. All of a sudden, I don't know what happened. Like something happened in the maybe early to mid 2000s where people stopped calling, these type shows.
Yeah.
So then you were relying on, Facebook comments and stuff like that, which, okay, that's good. But having someone on telling their story and get to play off them is different. And now a lot of them have come back, which is great. So it's working.
They say it's 1 in 1,000. You're lucky.
Correct. Yeah. And we have days where, believe me, it's a little bit slow sometimes. And then, like, I'll give you an example today. Something we were talking about, which is the most ridiculous thing you can imagine. People were calling very passionate both ways, busting him about the way he said something.
Because I said Lake Wallen Paul Pack. That's how I pronounce it, with an L in there. I know there's no L in Paul, but it blew up.
Oh, we're very passionate about how we speak.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Exactly. And it was great because and that's the thing, because we try to also be as local as we can.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you want to be local in such a place where everybody knows everything? I talked about the seagulls up in Carbondale. Do you know in the Weiss parking lot that there's seagulls in Carbondale? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Everybody in Carbondale called Froggy 101 that morning to let us know about the seagulls in Carbondale.
I don't know where they're coming from.
Don't know where they're coming from, but they're all there.
Oh, they're coming from the landfill. They drive in on the garbage truck. There you go.
Well, thanks for letting us know finally. But it's great to have that. And like you said, it all goes down to being the person that you want to hang out with. I had a mentor in radio. He said all the time, be the guy that you want to sit down at the bar and have a beer with.
Yeah.
He goes, that's all you want to be. And I took that to heart. It's like, I want to be that guy that somebody wants to have a beer with. When I hear people on the radio, TV, I'm like, I'd like to have a beer with that. I'd like to have a beer with Bob Cordaro. So I hope that can happen someday soon.
Oh, sure. The last time I said no, I didn't understand the question. So, all right. So you establish. By the way, you're looking at this as a program director. You're not going to put your son in a place where he's going to fail.
Correct.
Particularly because he's doing well where he is.
Exactly.
So you say, as a programming guy, this is going to work. Mm-hmm. Has it fulfilled your thoughts and your vision in the same way you thought, or maybe a slightly different way than you thought?
Now I can tell, if you asked me that question today, I would say in the same way I thought. And he would know, like for the first few months, it's like, wow, I thought right away this would be instantaneous and people would be at the point they are now. But we're talking 10 months later.
Hey, father and son, isn't this amazing?
Yeah. Come on, we know each other. This should be like you're just living out your own lives, listening to us. And it took a while, and I think now because it's word of mouth, where people are, hey, you got to check these guys out. They're a little different than what you hear in everywhere else.
It's fun. I feel better going to work. I feel better getting up. I mean, that's what your job is.
We don't do. I don't really. We'll make fun of politics stuff, but we don't do politics per se. People hear that.
Well, leave that to me.
We'll leave that to you.
And sometimes I don't even want to leave it to me. So
No, but they don't come to us for our political opinions.
They come to us to laugh.
Yeah,
and that's
to
what
laugh
we
and
want.
get a break, and that's what it's all about.
You've got. I mean, the country listener is a pretty solid American. Not a lot hidden.
Right.
In terms of how they live their lives and how they view things.
Correct.
So you know who you're talking to. You know who's on the other end of that speaker.
Exactly. And you don't want to sit there and press somebody's buttons because that's a turnoff to somebody. Our whole thing is, like Chewy just said, is you want to leave somebody feeling like, oh, my life's okay, or I'm having a pretty good day. And then when we meet people, and it's neat to see, like, it's just so cool to get to meet you guys, or I never thought, no, we're here. We're local. We live in Northeast PA.
Catch us at any restaurant. Honestly, because that's what we do. And that's one of our favorite things is when we go out and we get to actually meet people. And it's not. It sounds kind of egotistical, but it's not like that. It's like we just like to meet people, put faces to names. I'm the person that called and said about this, or I'm the person that said this on or texted you about that. It's so great to hear that, and it's like, oh my God, because it is. It's like getting to know that person. Then, so when next time Alice messages us, I go, oh. I know Alice. Like we were just talking to Alice the other day, or I was just talking
thousands of your closest friends.
Yeah. And I got personally. I mean, I got a whole new energy because I've been, and you would know this being in the industry too. You get a great boost when you start a morning show and everything goes well, but after a while it plateaus. And the cool thing about him and he's going, and he's a lot younger too. So that's obviously he's always coming with ideas. I do have a whole new energy, and I think everybody's saying they notice it.
We're with Doc and Chewy Medek, the morning team for Froggy 101, one of the top stations in the market, and consistently so, and growing. And they play country, but they do so much more. It's much more than that. I listen to them a lot, and it's outstanding. We, as all of you know, we do this thing on YouTube. And it's usually available about noon on Sunday. We're on at 11:30, goes to noon. And we're going to do what we call BC TV Extra, which will be the continuation of our conversation with Doc and Chewy, so that you could just get more of a flavor. There's some really more technical radio stuff I want to talk to them about and get into. And I think you'll enjoy it. In fact, I know you will. In the meantime, as we close this show, the WNEP TV version, another great little video clip I've had for a number of months. I want you to watch this delivery driver do his thing. It gives me tears in my eyes to think about it, let alone watch it. And I said, that's how we close the show this week with Doc and Chewy Medek. Thank you both, gentlemen.
Thank you, Bob.
Pleasure. So we have this thing we call BC TV Extra. I made it up myself. Bob Cordaro TV Show Extra. And this is part of the YouTube experience for the program that you don't get on WNEP TV because we've got time constraints. And this week it's Doc and Chewy Medek, the morning team from Froggy 101. And we've been talking about a lot of other things, which you've seen. And I wanted to get into, Doc, we talked about your conversion to country music.
Yeah.
Now, you're a program director.
Right.
A lot of people wonder how that sauce is made. And Chewy, feel free to come in because you are too. Does the music matter when you're programming, the type of music?
I would say initially, yes, for the format you're doing. Because, I mean, that is what's bringing the audience there to come. That's what they expect.
But in terms of how you say, well, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do, I mean, how you put a program together.
Yeah, I think the personality stuff, you bring it around. And a lot of radio's missing that now. And, even our company does it where you've got some syndicated things in there. So I think where we do get our local slots.
Like I love Crockett. He's great.
And Crockett's great. And Crockett's amazing at what he does. And that's why he does so well and so successful. And that's what you need. So Crockett's got to shine in the afternoons. We got to shine in the morning. That's where the pressure is on for us. I'm not the program director of Froggy right now. That would be OD. But yeah, I was. And in fact, it was funny when they hired me back. They said, "Do you want to be program director?" I said, "No, not at all." Because it's a whole. My days were getting so long, and you know what? I love what I'm doing now, and they treat me great. So I've got no complaints at all. But it is, you think differently as a program director. And when I got hired in Philadelphia, that was one of the reasons I got hired. They said, "We're hiring you for the morning show, but you think like a program director, and that's what we need, because our program director, we don't want her up at 5 a.m. You're in charge of the morning show," and that's why it works. So it is a different way of thinking.
I remember a program director that I became friendly with, because I've been in the radio business for a long time. He was with WIP in Philadelphia. And this program director would literally be on the phones, and if the subject wasn't what he wanted, he'd hang up on the caller. Like that micromanaging of what came out on the air. And he was legendary. And he drove them to great heights. Unfortunately passed away. But when you're program director, when you had been, does that kind of micromanaging enter into what you'd like to do? Or
no, that was totally against my whole style, because I know what I'm like as a person. And if I'm doing something and all of a sudden, I've been in this situation where all of a sudden this light goes off that's on the board but off the board, but it's not a caller calling, it's somebody higher up, and they're questioning something you do. So now you're totally thrown off your game, because you're like, you're thinking, oh God, what am I in trouble for? And then you start, you go take the call, and it was like, I didn't like the way you did that, and what you should have done here, and like, why are you correcting me now? Because then after that, it's downhill. The rest of the show, you don't know. And I always remember that, because I had 2 people like that in my career that micromanaged. And I said, I will never do that, because I don't want to be treated that way. So I would get with somebody, if there was something questionable, unless there was a total train wreck, and that never really happened. But I would get with them after the show, and the one thing somebody taught me one time was like, first of all, don't give them a laundry list of things that are wrong with the show. Go talk about 3 things. And maybe there are 2 issues. You'd go with the 2 issues and what you would do to make it better. And the third is always a compliment to leave them with. So when they leave the room, oh, all right, this wasn't that bad.
Yeah. And that's what I always did too.
Yeah. And I remember telling them about that too. The same thing when you're training somebody. I had a consultant his name's Dave Shakes. We worked for a little while. When we did the big show at Froggy, we had 5 or 6 people on the show. Dave was out of Chicago. And he was the one guy we'd always say, I do a call with the consultant. 99% of people in radio are like, oh God, isn't there anything else? I'd rather get root canal. Dave was the kind of guy you'd look forward to talking to. He was correcting mistakes you were making, but he would always make you finish up the call with something amazing and motivating about your morning show, that you were like, okay, let's get in there the next day and start all over. And to me, that was a gift. And I tried my best to emulate, the way Dave was.
And that's the way that you got to do it. You just it's always about positive reinforcement. I was big on, when I was a programmer, I was big on the whole method of what would you do differently here? Like because I would let them listen to it, say, here's the break that I heard. What do you think about it? And I try to see, because I also think that helps them, instead of me just saying, here's what I would have done differently. It gets them the chance to listen back, hear it, and go, oh, you know what? I could tweak before you even go into what I think you're going to say. I might tweak it like this, and then I can go, you're right, that's exactly it. Yeah. So let's try that next time, because then it's not necessarily me giving them the advice. They're self-critiquing, which I think is also very important in radio, because you have to be able to, if you sit there and you think every break is a home run out of the park every single time, something's wrong, because it's normally not. So that's why we sit here and you have to critique yourself, and that's why I was big on, was letting them kind of figure it out themselves. And then the only time that I ever micromanaged is if, like Doc said, if something was going very wrong. I was like, you know what, this person's, going off the deep end a little bit too much. I need to make sure I'm reeling them in and really listening to every single thing they do. So
how about that? I mean, we know radio is a lot of characters.
Yes. A lot of egos.
Tell us one of the craziest things, Doc.
So there's a guy named Jeff Walker. Listen, I don't know how much time you got. Jeff, I love Jeff. Jeff's one of my favorites.
Oh,
but
he's the best.
I remember when I first got hired at KRZ, so they had me staying at the hotel. This is the night before I started, the Sheridan Crossgates, I guess it was called then, the one in Public Square.
Downtown, sure.
So, I turn on the little radio in the room, and I hear Jeff was doing mornings then. And it's like, hey, it's Jeff Walker, and tomorrow morning, whatever the problem was. And he referred to, and it's funny because this came up the other day, he referred to some guy as a scumbag. Now, I grew up in New York City. I'm from New York City. When you referred to somebody as that was, I guess here in Northeast PA, it's not as bad. It was like you'll kill somebody for saying that. So I call up the night guy, who was Jerry Patton, then, who also became like my best friend over the years. And I said, hi, I'm Ken Medek, the new program director. I start tomorrow. Can you take that promo off the air, please? And you hear Jerry like, what? You know, and all that. So then Jerry tells the story, which is funny. He calls Walker and goes, oh, this guy's going to be a pain in the as time goes on. So that was the one thing. Jeff was, and to this day, Jeff is probably my favorite person to, I'll go out to dinner with Jeff every now and then. Yeah. Here's you got time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Quick story. So this is the year when Peter Frampton came to town. You knew I was going to tell
this is my favorite story of all time.
Yeah, I told this to Keith Urban, actually, and he can relate to it too. So Peter Frampton came to the Kirby Center. Not our show, but we were the station, and they said, oh, we're going to invite Peter Frampton. He's going to come up to your station. And I said, oh, it's a great interview. Now, I didn't know a lot about protocol with TV stations at that point. So I called at that point. We had somebody new at Channel 22 and said, hey, Peter Frampton's coming here later. Do you want to come on up and shoot something for the news? Oh, my God, of course, yeah. I've learned you're supposed to get permission from Peter Frampton's people and Peter Frampton to do it. So strike one is they come up the driveway where we are with a tour bus. Now, you know our parking lot. There's not a lot of room for maneuvering. That was strike one. Strike two, we invited listeners to come in. So it's all these women, and this would have been maybe 91 or whatever.
Yeah.
With their Frampton Comes Alive albums and 8-tracks, even though it's after that, just about, here comes Peter Frampton. Well, Peter Frampton doesn't look anything, or didn't at that point look anything like he did, with the long hair and anything. Yeah. And he's also older, so he comes in with a baseball cap on backwards. He's a little short guy. He goes in, and he walks down the studio, and now you can tell he's flustered because one, there's a TV station there with a camera in his face, and two, you got all these women asking him to sign in the long hallway where our studios are going down. He's not happy. He gets in with Jeff, and Jeff's in a song right now, and Jeff goes, we're going on in like 3 minutes, and Peter's being quiet because now he's upset if everything just happened. And Jeff goes, let me ask you something. This is off the air. He goes, where have you been the last 15 years, right? Well, Peter had about 9 albums that bombed in the last 15 years. So now it's really like throwing, salt into the wound at this point. And now you get 30 seconds, we're going on. And Jeff's like, Peter, you going to go on? And to which I got to watch this for what you're saying. But Peter's response was, you just ask the questions and I'll give you my answers, at that point. And he was just quick, like boom, boom, boom. Answered just yes, no answers. The worst thing you possibly want. Interview ends. Jeff did, you can't blame Jeff. He was asking what everybody wanted to know. Frampton comes out of the studio, flies down the hall right out to the bus. Now, of course, the bus can't, now he's furious, and the bus can't get out of the lot because of all the way everything's jammed up. So I get a call. This is now literally maybe 15 minutes later, and it's my local music rep out of the Philly area. What the hell just happened there? And who the hell is Jeff Walker? And I said, I said he was here doing an interview. Why is the TV station? Well, I thought I could. You can't do that. And he goes, and what did Jeff Walker say? I said, we asked him where he'd been. Like, you can't ask him where he's been. He had 8 albums. And, they all bummed.
By the way, that's the first I know of it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the greatest albums of all time.
Was Frampton Comes Alive.
Followed by nothing, as far as I know.
There were about 8 albums.
Yeah.
And he's had more since then.
Wherever they landed.
That you don't hear. So,
Jeff was right.
So the guy, exactly. Jeff was right. So the guy then hangs up and goes, I got to try to straighten this out. I'll get back to you. And then 45 minutes later, my phone rings, and it's the national rep for Atlantic Records. What the hell happened in Wilkes-Barre? Who the hell is Jeff Walker? Peter Frampton is furious because he asked him where he's been the last 8 years, So this goes on, and he goes, he's supposed to be at the Kirby Center. And he goes, well, Peter's not going to perform tonight. And I'm like, I really don't care. It's not our show.
That's not our problem.
He wanted to do an interview. He did the interview with him. And he goes, you may have to call Peter. And I'm like, whatever. And then, so now another half hour goes by. And I get the call, hey, call this number and he was staying downtown at the same thing. Sure. No, he was at Genetti's. So he's down there, call the number, hello, British accent answers. Yeah, hi, it's Ken Medek, program director for KRZ. It's Peter. He goes into the whole thing and he starts talking about, he goes, the TV cameras were there. I did not get permission. And that Jeff Walker had the audacity to ask me where I've been the last 8 years, when I have all these albums. And then he goes, I don't know if I'm going to perform. I said, Peter, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. It's just, it's a misunderstanding. We didn't know, that sort of thing.
He talked Peter Frampton down.
Yeah,
he talked him down.
Talked him off the
Did
roof.
you tell him was the word love used at all? Did you ever use
We
the
did
word
not
love?
use the word love at all.
Okay.
So we go, finally then Peter goes, well, I'll do the show. Again, Peter's not our show. I really don't care. So he did the show that night and his fans were thrilled.
Fast forward to the Wilkes-Barre St. Patrick's Day parade. We're working with Jeff. We're talking because at the parades, you got to stand around for a really long time beforehand. And I go, Jeff, let me ask you something. I just heard this story not too long ago about you meeting Peter Frampton. He goes, he was a real jerk when I met him, and I don't even know why. My dad goes, well, wait a second. You don't remember? And he goes, no, what'd I say?
I forgot about the 15-year comment.
Yeah, where you been the last
And then
15 years?
he goes, yeah, that sounds like something I probably would have said.
He's something else. But
Well-
yeah, that's the fun stuff.
So we come in the morning, and Froggy 101's got this top morning show, and it's father and son. You're cognizant of all of this. You've got a big responsibility.
Right.
You've got extra pressure because of being father and son. What do you do? Okay, I come on and the lights go on and the light goes on at 6 a.m.
Right.
And you guys start talking. You say set up.
Yeah, so we
Tell
structure.
me, what do you mean?
Yeah, so
tell people what you
our
mean.
show is structured. So we end up having I have a schedule in front of me, and we schedule the 3 main talk breaks, and so that's all figured out. So one's an entertainment report usually. One is something like a topic we want to hit, and then we both do each like personal story, something that either happened to me yesterday or something happened to him that he wants to talk about, and then we try to twist that in order to get callers to start reacting to what we're doing and to start calling it. So that's what we do. So it's not like we ever just go in and say, all right, let's just turn on the mic and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's, what do you call it, like organized chaos or whatever it is. There's a reason behind the madness as to why we do what we do and when we do. It's funny when we have people come in as guests that sit in a room, they're like, wow, this is pretty fast paced. On the air, you hear it in real time. It's kind of relaxing, but watching you guys go back and forth and the headphone comes off and it's a lot of hand signals with, I'm doing this. Like, it looks like a football thing, signaling him how many different pots I'm going to have up and what to do.
Yeah, me saying, hey, I need both of it. This is my big thing because I've got a bank of all of our sound effects. Then I've got our Vox Pro, which has callers, which has more sound effects, which has other sound bites. So there I am going like this because I need both of them.
You don't have producers
We
doing
are
the
our own
sound
producers,
effects.
No. So it's all us, and that's
it's fun to watch. For people that have come in, they're like, wow, this is a lot different than I thought.
Yeah.
But it's fun and it goes very fast.
4 hours.
Yeah, 4.5 for us. We
4.5,
go in at
5:30.
5:30.
You start at 5:30?
5:30 to 10, yeah.
Okay.
But you can do something. First morning, I was giving away a prize at 5:35.
Call it our morning quickie.
All the phones light right up. Yeah. So that's good. I mean, originally when I did that, we wouldn't do that. It would be one call, maybe 2. But now, and a lot of it's always new people that get new to the show, and it's kind of cool.
So the show's not guest driven. But you've had tons of guests.
I wish it was. I enjoy that. I've worked with people that don't enjoy other people in the studio. I love having all of the TV people locally on all stations, mayors, but the characters, the ones that are going to bring something to it.
Yeah.
There are people that, they have a public service event. All right, well, that's great. We're going to get to your public service event, but we're also talking about this, and we want to hear your tie-in on this, and we're going to work everything together and weave it in like it all belongs. So we have our buddy is the state trooper is coming in Monday to talk about an event we're doing with the state police, but he's also got a fun personality for a state trooper, so he's going to play along and be involved in what's going on. So it's good. Yeah, I love it. I loved when I had a 5-person morning show because you're never at a loss for anything.
That was at Froggy.
Yeah.
5 people. Who?
So it was me. At that point, it was me. It was Selena, and it was Jake, who is now a police officer himself, which was funny that he turned out being a police officer. Yeah. Rusty Fender, Joe Thomas was in there as the group.
Joe Thomas.
Yeah, you remember that. So even though Joe would come in basically at the top of the hour, read the news. His thing was at the end of the news. It was always brief and entertaining. Would always be what we call the kicker story, something fun. We all got to play off that thing. Rusty was Rusty, as anybody knows him. He's very funny, very quick-witted. And he would have something to add. So it was always something going on. But the same thing, I would be the setup person. Selena was coming more in with, the female perspective or the young mom perspective. And Jake was a lot like what he is. He's like the bad boy that pushes the envelope and see how far he can get away with. And the dynamic was, great. I mean, if they could add more, and I think, Chewy feels the same way. If we could bring a few more people in that are in the building, it wasn't like we were paying a 5-person morning show. They all had jobs already in the
Elsewhere
building.
with
I
the
was
book.
just pulling stuff out of them that, to work to our advantage. And we got huge numbers with it. It was fun.
I remember when Froggy came on, nobody thought it would go.
No. And that was
that's a country music. Well, they didn't realize that this area is Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and Alabama surrounding it.
Correct. Correct.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Well, part of it was the guy that bought us and knew, and he's the one, Kirby Confer, who he ended up working for also. Kirby's probably one of the smartest individuals I know, and he knows what works and what doesn't work. And he got what's called like a Class A signal. So, you're looking at a 50,000 watt station. If you're going with a low power station, it's going to be a tough road. But you got a station that's as powerful as KRZ is, as powerful as Magic and 97.9X. They're all the big signals in the market. So you're blanketing a good chunk of the market. So now you're definitely in the game. You're going to be somewhere in the top 5.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, you got the signal, now make it happen. And it was a bumpy road for Froggy along the way, but eventually it started catching on, and you still see to this day license plates on some of these old cars and old trucks.
Well, I'm not a country guy, but I love listening to the station. I do. I enjoy it. It's one of my presets.
Thank you. And that's what we try to do. We're trying to make it something that, okay, if country's not your thing, but if you like the storytelling part, well, hang on, we're doing it again in 10 minutes, but here's a couple of country songs in the meantime.
That's a lot of feedback that we've gotten too, is that I'm not a big country fan, but I listen because the shows are good. And that's what we like to hear because, as programmers, there's two mentalities. We listen for the music and then we stay for the DJs, or we listen for the DJs and we stay for the music.
Yeah.
Depends on which kind of programmer you are, but no matter what, that's always something great to hear, is that I'm not the biggest country fan, and then those people, slowly but surely, you'll get a call down there and be like, hey, listen, remember when I told you I didn't like country? Well, now I like that one song by Morgan Wallen. Can you play that for us? And then it's, I also like Bailey Zimmerman now, or I also like this person, and they grow. And that's, even country music in general is probably the best genre to be in right now, because if we were just talking about it, the Billboard Hot 100, the top 3 spots, 2 out of the 3, number 1 and number 3, are both country songs on the Hot 100, and they're playing them on the top 40 station. And what's kind of cool is kind of what we said. It's a lot easier for a top 40 fan to come listen to country and stay than it is for a country fan to go listen to top 40 and stay. Yeah. So that's what's really cool. And we can make country fans come in all shapes, sizes, anything. And that's what's so great about country, because sometimes you did say who's on the other end, but sometimes you don't know who's on the other end, because it's it's family people, it's fun people. People who just that just love life. That's the way that I put it. The people that love life the most, I think, listen to country music, because it's a lot of songs about partying and having fun, and there's also your dog dying and your wife leaving you and your truck breaking down and all that stuff. But at the same time, there's a lot of partying and a lot of fun in country music, and that's what we try to bring.
Who's the best country artist that you had a chance to interview or interact with? I don't mean the best, the most fun.
It's a bunch, but
why?
I would say originally Luke Bryan, because kind of got to know him in his very first song and his family and all of that. He's gotten so big now, between American Idol and all the other stuff that he's doing. Dierks Bentley.
Dierks Bentley and Keith Urban, I think, are the 2 nicest guys.
Keith Urban's like a regular guy. If you meet him, he's all tattooed up and he's an incredible guitar player.
And he
but he's a funny
people.
storyteller, and he loves to just talk with people and listen to and hear you. Yeah. When I did KRZ, one of the nicest people you ever meet was Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. Steven Tyler had this gift and this is after they cleaned their act up when they came out in the late 80s with Love in an Elevator and all that stuff. He knew how to make, if you were backstage, girlfriend, wife, whatever you're with, and you're just nervous to meet Aerosmith, he would make you you're the star, and he was honored to meet you. And he did that with everybody he would meet in line. And that always stuck with me. And another example, Vanilla Ice, who I thought I would hate, was thank you so much for supporting me. And this, that. Ran into a few artists that were not that way, that I was hoping.
Were you able to say Ice Ice Baby?
No, he was. But he was like that. He's like, this is amazing. He's not the guy you saw on stage. You were seeing him in real time, real person. I would say almost all country artists are
maybe 4
treat you with more respect than you deserve.
4 that maybe haven't been nice. But we just met Jelly Roll at Guitars and Stars up here, and Jelly Roll, who's he's a big dude, kind of scary, probably the nicest, sweetest human being that you've ever would talk to. So much he has so much heart, not just in his music, but as a person too. What I said was, what was so cool to me is that he was doing an interview with Crockett, And before he did it, he said, I really got to go pee and I want a sandwich. And he pointed at me and he goes, this guy knows what I'm talking about, the sandwich, right? And then he walks over and he goes, hi, I'm Jelly. Nice to meet you. I said, hi, I'm Chewy. And he's like, that's a cool blanket name. And I said, thank you. But then he went over to everybody else that was standing in there, introduced himself, hi, I'm Jelly Roll, hi, and then went and did the interview. And he's like, I'll come back. And he saw that he didn't shake his hand. He's like, I'll talk to you after the interview. He's like, cool. And he was like, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
And like, for someone to take the time and introduce yourself, even if, regardless of how, the person is, if you go and come over and you do that, you automatically gain some respect in my book.
Sure.
And then he just went on the rest of the night to be one of the coolest dudes I think I've ever met.
All right, let's go flip side. If you can name names, maybe you can. Hopefully you can.
Garth Brooks.
The worst.
What?
The worst to deal with.
I know. I had a bad Garth experience. Yeah, it's funny because the ones I'm going to say, people are going to go, really? You guys play a lot. Kenny Chesney. I never found Kenny Chesney to be warm and fuzzy. I find him to be, he's doing backstage because he's forced to be doing backstage. Yeah, which, and then
Maybe he's reserved? I mean,
yes, he's somewhat reserved, but then don't do backstage if you don't want to meet people because it comes off that you don't want to be there kind of thing. On the pop side back then, the KRZ, Taylor Dane. I love Taylor Dane. I thought she was the greatest thing ever. She was...
diva. A diva.
A diva. Yeah, you want to say diva, I would have said something else. But yes, she was totally not what I expected. And what a turnoff to meet somebody who you thought was a superstar. But that's it. That's all I can think of.
Yeah,
I would think there'd be more. I mean, you're in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah.
And you would think a lot of them would big league you.
Mm-hmm.
But
they don't. That's
but it's
great
different
to hear.
for me maybe because I was program director, so they kind of had to be nice to me. But I those are about the same names. And Garth, to me, Garth is just a lot of ego and stuff like that. Like I've met him, but he always refers to himself as Garth Brooks. He's one of the, anybody refers to him in third person. I kind of think it's a little something strange.
But on the
there.
flip side, we've only heard also great stories about Garth Brooks. We have a listener whose husband used to work on the tour for Garth Brooks.
And the road crew.
And said that he was honestly, like, when it came to taking care of his people, he took care of his people. If there was
I've
something
heard
wrong,
those
if there's something wrong
stories,
with his at home life, he would send them home and like, hey, don't worry, you'll have a job when you come back. Go fix out whatever's going on. Rehab. He'd send them out, and he goes, when you get out and you clean yourself up, you're gonna have a job back here. So don't worry about that. Anything, gifts on holidays, all this stuff. So I'm gonna interject and I've only ever heard good stories about Garth. Doc only doesn't like him because he waited like 8 hours in the rain to see him perform, and then he didn't perform.
No. Oh, that was at Yankee Stadium.
That's Doc's biggest quarrel with Garth Brooks. There's not, and because he refers to himself in the third person, so don't let him fool you. I know, one of the problems is sometimes you meet people when they're first coming up, and they're really awesome, and then they become established, and then you're like, this isn't the same person that I interviewed, and they're not the same person that was like cool and jumping around, and they're just very yes, no answers. And then in some cases, like one band, Florida Georgia Line, when they first came out, really cool guys, willing to meet everybody, taking pictures, having fun. Then it goes to yes, no answers. Then they break up. The band goes their separate ways. We just had Tyler Hubbard in the studio back in September.
Back to great guy.
A great guy. I mean, you wouldn't expect it was the same guy, but now he's doing his solo stuff, and he's also got a family now, and he's matured a little bit. You have to go through that immature phase at some point, and it is. And he's back to like sitting. Hey man, because we were nervous, we were like, maybe for the questions that we have to ask him, let's run them by him. And he goes, I want to be surprised. He goes, whatever you're throwing at me, throw at me. And we're like, okay, not what we thought we were going to deal with. Let's go. Let's have some fun. And he was like, yeah, man. He's like, cool hat. And I was like, thank you. And, so sometimes that's an issue too, where they get really big. And you're like, oh boy, like how's this going to be?
We just went through this with one country artist, and he's now been banned because of a news star. His name is Jimmy Allen. So Jimmy was on what? He was on different shows, and he was hosting things in country. Supposedly, all kinds of sexual allegations against his run or one of his managers. She was saying, all these stories, things that happened, which apparently more and more women are coming forward now. Meanwhile, he's married, just had a child, and that was his whole thing that you always heard about. What a great guy. In his interviews, it's all about, my grandmother, I grew up with her, and she gave me my work ethic, and then you hear all these horrible stories. He's like banned off country now. Wow. And it's a shame, but we interviewed him, and that's what made no sense to me, and this was maybe 3 or 4 months before all this came out. And we're talking to him, and he sounds like he's high. And it's on the phone, so we're not doing it live. We're recording it. We couldn't use
he doesn't want to answer questions. He's
just laughing and giggling. And it's like, I look at him.
And it wasn't like the fun laughing and giggling, like, hey, you ask a question, you laugh. It was like he couldn't make it through. And regardless of if he was high or not, it was that he just didn't want to answer questions that were simple questions like, hey man, so tell us about the new album. Yeah, well, I can't talk much about it. It's coming out though. It's like, all right.
That's why you're getting interviewed.
Yeah, that's why you're getting interviewed. All right, so what do you want to tell? How about you're coming up on a new TV show? Yeah, well, it didn't air yet. I can't tell you. It's okay. Well, what was it like being on the show? Good. And you're like, all right, man. So we literally had to like make breaks around his stuff to like make it work, to make it sound good, and it is, and it was the same thing. And then, all right, man, we'll see you, and hope you have a great day. Click. Like he clicked on us, or like not even like bye or anything, and he interviewed him 2 years before that. He did the morning show.
He came in. He was
the
amazing.
nicest guy in the world, and it's again,
but he was brand new, and he was on his way up. At that point.
Sort of as a conclusion, I look at Chewy. How old are you now?
26.
So you're 26.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a career here doing what you're doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's what I've always wanted to do. And, I don't know if I can say this or not, but I'll say this. My path wasn't supposed to be on Froggy because while I was out in Du Bois and even State College, I was working part-time on KRZ. And I was told that, like, hopefully at some point, you keep working good, maybe down the line, you'll end up here. And that was one of the hard sells for our boss. He was like, well, you're kind of stealing him away from KRZ. We want him here. Yeah. And then I knew it took me a while to realize like this was definitely the path that I needed to be on. We just won a Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasting Award. And I wouldn't be anywhere without him. I know that 100%. It's a team effort.
Well, I know that too.
But, but I know that this is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. I can do a bunch of other things. I don't want to do anything else. I go to work every morning. It's not work. Like you said earlier, I get to do the thing that I love every day.
The old Steve Martin line. I get paid for doing this.
Nothing. Yeah. And it's if I wake up one morning and it is work, that's when I know maybe it is time to hang it up. But I've been doing it for 8 years. A lot of my friends, I hear them every single day. My friends, if we play Xbox together, or having a beer together, or whatever we're doing, they say it like, oh my God, I got to work on Monday. Yeah. Or I hate this. And I'm like, dude, listen, I'm 6 more years past where you're in because you finished out college and now you're in the workforce and you're seeing it. And I go, and you used to make fun of me for being like, I can't come out tonight, guy. I got work in the morning. Like this. And I don't ever want to be that. I don't want to be punching the clock. I don't want to be doing that. I mean, we do a lot. We put our whole into it. I mean, we ruin our whole bodies with our sleep schedule just in general. Yeah. Like our sleep, and that's one of the most important things. But even our eating schedules. I mean, we're eating lunch at 10 o'clock. Yeah. So we're ruining our bodies for it. But it's what I want to do. Like this is what I was trained to do. It's what I've always wanted to do my whole life.
Morning?
Yeah.
Morning? Is that in your blood yet?
I think it will be. It will be. And I always want to do mornings. Like afternoons are cool. But mornings, to me, are always cool. So like I said, it's just hard waking up and hitting that first alarm and waking up with it. Like today was 2:50, and I was like, oh God, this sucks. So yeah, because normally
I'm
a 3:15
weekend,
guy.
my wife, she's a school teacher, so me sleeping in Saturday and Sunday is sleeping until about 5, in the morning. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, let's go do something. There's nothing to do at 5 a.m. on a Saturday or Sunday.
Back when Walmart was 24 hours, he would just go to Walmart and walk around.
I'd go to Walmart and go shopping. Let me go do the shopping. Now they don't open. Now I got to sit around and wait.
And I'm the same way. I got to go downstairs. My girlfriend's also a school teacher, and she'll go, like, she'll be like, oh, can you sleep in tomorrow, please? I'll be like, yeah, don't worry. 4:30, 5 o'clock comes, I'm like, your body sneak out of bed. Yeah, you sneak out of bed, you go downstairs, you watch some TV till she wakes up, and you're like, it's 9 o'clock, I need a nap.
But I'm also the guy when I take vacation. I don't need I get them, but I don't need a 5-day vacation. Give me 3 days off, and I'm like, I'm missing it, and I want to get back to it. And as long as I feel that way, I'll stick with it.
So 40 years in.
Yeah, 40-something, 43.
43 years in.
Yeah.
Refreshed by having your son be your partner, having something unique in the country, maybe the world. You're fresh and you're saying, I don't see an end in sight here.
I don't. So at our building, I mean, because you know all the players that are in our building, the 3 most obvious next retirees are Jeff Walker, Rocky Rhodes, and me. We're the 3 oldest in the building.
All 3 seem eternally youthful to me.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, we're the 3 oldest guys in the building, and I do. I mean, the goal is they made this clear. Like again, he was being looked at for KRZ. If Jeff or Rocky left, he would move into their position and be matched up with somebody. here on the situation when they agreed to let him come over to me, because he is my kid.
Yeah.
It's going to be when I leave, obviously it won't be called the Doc Show anymore, it'll be Chewy Show or whatever, but then they'll match somebody up with him, but he will then take over the show and run with it. So, I say I want to be around, so I don't want to do it anymore. He says, give it another week and then you should probably leave.
And then you'll be up at 5 o'clock listening to him anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well keep doing it.
Even on his days off. On his days off, he's like, hey, man, I'm going down to Philly. I'm going to go watch the grandkids. Okay, yeah, no problem. 4:30, I start getting texts. Hey, for the show today, make sure you hit this and this. All right, man, I will. Don't worry. And and that's the one thing that I do love, and it happened my entire life. And it's like some people I think would get annoyed with it, but if I ever had he would listen to me all the time. And whether I had a bad break or a good break, I'd get a phone call about it. He'd be like, hey, man, listen, so you know that thing that you just said? Why don't you try twisting it up like this, just a little bit more? It sounded great. Did this, it would be out of the park. And that's what I was for the next break. I would take that advice, and I think that's why I don't think I'm that good at radio. I just know that I've got a good personality and that I can make it work somehow with him. And but I credit all of my radio expertise that I do have to this guy, because I wouldn't be there. Yeah.
Doc Medek, Chewy Medek, great being with you.
Thanks, Bob.
Love listening to you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks for being on the program.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks for being part of the program. You've got an appointment every Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on WNEP TV, The Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.